Hey guys, it's Katie Harp, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use Canva text effects. So to start, I'm using a blank canvas, and if you're on a desktop, which I recommend, then you can press T on the keyboard to create a new text box, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, you can go over to the side and click on T for text, and also add a heading or subheading that way. And you can also add both if you want. So I might add a few of these actually just to show you some different options. So to start, I'm just going to use some of these and increase the size, and then go over here to position and make sure it's centered. Another way to center the text is we see this hot pink line in the middle, but sometimes it's a little hard to get it straightened out. So I'm just going to increase the size of these and then center them. Okay, so something like that. Now on this one, the cursive text, so to start, any of these can have effects added to them. So you just go to Effects on this button, and you see the curved text at the bottom. We actually have another tutorial about how to make curved text in Canva, and that's a separate thing. But at the moment, you can layer one of these styles and curved text, which is pretty cool. So for example, you could have a shadow and curved text at the same time, which is pretty cool. But if you're interested in the curved text, you can watch the other video because this one's just about the different text effects. So first there's a shadow, and I think for this cursive text, it's not gonna be as readable. So I think I would rather do something like lift, which is basically like glowing text. So this is how you change the intensity of the glow, and it just adds a glow to it. There's also hollow. This is pretty hard to tell on the cursive text, but I'll try it on some of the other ones. Also splice, which is where you have that like offset text effect, which is pretty cool. And again, it's hard to tell on this cursive one. And then echo, same thing. It's kind of like a drop shadow, but you can have the text a little bit more offset. And then glitch is kind of like an old retro, like almost a neon vibe, even though they also have a neon option. And this one is also adding a glow to it. And you can have it like that, where the text is darker and you have the glow around it. Or if you go all the way up here, then the text actually turns white. So for cursive text, the lift option works, or the shadow works if you add a little bit of a blur, and it's like that. But they really work better with just regular sans serif fonts. And actually, a lot of these text effects work best on really bold fonts. So if I go to, say, Montserrat semi-bold, or any of these other options like Archivo Black or Horizon or League Spartan. Actually, I'll use League Spartan. That's a good one. And then make that a little bit bigger. Use this one also. And you can also go to spacing for the text and change the spacing between the letters, or the line spacing, which is only visible if I have multiple lines. So if you wanted to change the line spacing, then it's like here, and it only shows up if you have multiple lines. And then for the text anchor box, it's not really visible in here, but you can center the text vertically or at the top or the bottom. So I'll just adjust that. And then of course you can click on the dots and go to position, and you can position it in the middle. I don't quite want it in the middle, so I'm just going to use this hot pink line to guide it to the center. And I'm using my keyboard right now to adjust these. And if you hold down Shift and press one of the arrow keys on your keyboard, then it moves it by several spaces like this. Or if you just press the arrow keys on their own, it moves it one pixel at a time. So then back to the effects. I'm using this really bold text. Now I can try out some of these styles and see what they look like. So for the shadow, I can change the color of the shadow, which is interesting. So I can have it offset by more, like that. And you can have this like any color, like I could have it blue or turquoise, which might not make sense on this pink background, but if I'm using this light pink background and I add a dark pink drop shadow, then it kind of looks like an overlay blending mode in Photoshop, which is pretty cool. It's kind of like a Canva hack. And then you can also change the direction, and this would be where your light source is coming from, basically. But for just a regular drop shadow, I think -45 or so is a pretty standard angle. And then there's also a blur. So you can either have it sharp like this, and just to zoom in a little bit, get closer to the text, so you can see it's a very sharp drop shadow, or I can move this around, and then if I want to blur it all the way, then that makes it a lot more subtle. Also, there's transparency, and if you have this set at 0, you can't see it at all, and then it's more subtle, and then if you have it 100%, then it's super bright and intense. And then for lift, it's also similar, but it's just this gray color basically, and it's kind of adding a glow around it. And then I'm going to switch. Oh, and then if you go back to a text effect, like if you switch to another one and then go back, it doesn't usually save your settings, so just something to keep in mind. So I'll use that and then go to this one and then click on hollow, and that's a pretty cool one. Just make this a little bit bigger so you can see it, and increase the letter spacing like that. And then the thickness is the thickness of the outline around it. So depending on how big your text is, you might want it to be somewhere around maybe 50 or 60 for it to match the width of your text. Then I'll go back to this one, and let's try splice. So for splice, it's kind of like an offset text effect, and you need really bold text for it to actually show up. So basically, whatever font color you chose, like this, that's going to be the outline. So if you want to change the outline color, you change this one, and I can make that black, and then go back to effects, and then this color is for the color on the inside. So if that's pink, it turns out like that, or if I make it like a medium pink, then it kind of matches the background. Or if I change it to one of these colors and then zoom in a little bit more so you can really see it. Now this one is a little hard to tell with the colors, but if you change the thickness, so if you have the thickness at 1, that probably wouldn't make sense in most cases, but if you change it to more like 30 or 40, like that's a little too thick, but probably around 30 or 40 would make sense for most text sizes. And then the offset, if you have no offset at all, then it's just kind of adding an outline basically to your text, but it's different than the hollow one because the hollow one doesn't have any color on the inside and this one does. Or if you want to actually get the offset text effect look, then you can increase the offset, and if you do it all the way, then it almost looks like a drop shadow. So I like to have it somewhere around maybe the 40 or 50 range, and then there's a little bit of the background color peeking through, but you can tell that it's still offset. And you can also change the direction of this, which gives it a different look. And if you're going to combine any text effects on the same screen, well, it might look a little messy. Like if you have this drop shadow and this splice effect on the same thing and this hollow one, that definitely looks kind of messy. But one thing to keep in mind is that you should probably keep the direction the same. So these numbers are, let's see, wanted it to be around like 45 or so for the other one. Yeah, for the direction. And that's just a little thing. It's not that noticeable, but if you have the light source or the angle coming from the same direction, then it makes the design look a little better. But again, like if I have multiple text effects on the same page, then it's probably going to look a little messy, so I might take some of those off. And then echo is kind of like a drop shadow, but multiple layers, as you can see. So if I have no offset, then it's not visible at all. Or if I have it all the way, then you can see there's actually like several of these, and they're layered, and I can change the color, and that's kind of a cool effect. Like it wouldn't fit every kind of branding, but it's definitely something unique. And again, you can change the direction like that. It's pretty cool. And then glitch gives you some of these really bright colors. You can change the direction. And then neon is kind of adding a glow. And that one's a little hard to read with the dark text, but I think the white text with the glow looks pretty cool. And then there are also animation effects for your text, which is a cool feature, but I'm going to do another video about that. So this one is just about the text effects. And then you can also combine them. So if I wanted some of these, I can also curve the text while having this text effect. But at the moment, you can't combine these styles at the top. You can only combine them, like one of these with the curve or not, but you can't combine multiple ones of these at the moment. So that was my video on text effects in Canva. I hope you enjoyed and have a great day.